Hamza Ahmad, the self-improvement YouTuber of the year 2022, unofficially. He has over 2 million subscribers and has been killing the self-improvement game as of recently. He has birthed a whole new genre of self-improvement YouTubers actually, the bathrobe talking head videos. But in all seriousness, Hamza has truly opened doors for the self-improvement niche and changed the course of the entire sector. Hamza Ahmad, born in 1997, had a childhood that was more or less typical for a brown guy living in England in the early 2000s. He faced racist comments and was put under scrutiny for his skin color. You see, at the time where Hamza lived was very racist, having to do with racists following him home and even harassing his entire family. He faced racism to such an extent that he even had to move. During middle and high school, Hamza started to drift away from the pack. This time not really because of racism, but because he started to not fit in. He didn't do any sport and did not work out, which during puberty was the worst thing for his body because it led to him becoming skinny fat. He lacked basic conversational skills and was misunderstood by almost everyone, including his parents and his teachers. Hamza's home life wasn't going very good during this time as well. If it wasn't the racists that were abusing him, it was his father. You see, Hamza's father wasn't necessarily a bad man. He just didn't know how else to discipline his child. He had been raised in the worst environment, having been abused and traumatized himself. This may come as a shock to some people, but it's very common for third world immigrants to actually have been abused as children, but not even know that they were abused. Coming from a third world country myself, I know how much an unstudied childhood can affect a parent. That being said though, I would never say that I was abused to the extent that Hamza or his father seemed to be. If Hamza didn't drink his water, he would get beat. If he played a little bit too much RuneScape, he'd even get beat. Talking about RuneScape, that was Hamza's escape. Hamza would love to come back home and just play the game, even though he was only allowed an hour a day. His obsession with the game led to him only thinking about it, which didn't help him in class at all. Despite Hamza's low grades, he went on to university and started studying for a psychology degree. You think that uni was just another sob story for Hamza, more or less of the same stuff, right? Well, just before Hamza had gone into uni, he had started working out and started speaking more to women. By Hamza's second year, he was looking like a full gym bro and going to the club almost daily. He was getting the girls, doing everything he ever wanted. His life did a full 180. He was doing everything he could have wanted to, except getting those grades. Hamza just barely graduated, and by the time he did, his health and lifestyle weren't looking to go from that of a uni student to an actual adult anytime soon. He became addicted to alcohol, weed, and the internet. He moved in with his girlfriend and got a minimum wage sales job. Hamza had always had big dreams, but the way he chose to live his life and traumatizing childhood, he had been put through suppress any and all effort that he knew was needed to achieve his dreams. After a few weeks at his job, he couldn't take it anymore. He saw that there was just more, and that if he just put in some extra effort, he could make it. He broke up with his girlfriend and moved back home with his parents. What I did mention earlier was that when Hamza was in uni, he had completely cut ties with his family at a certain point and didn't talk to them for a year or two. A whole year or two, bro. Despite this, his family still let him come home. He knew that there would be no distractions at his parents' home. He would be able to fully focus on his mission. His mission was making videos on YouTube that could help young men become more masculine and to help direct them through life. Hamza saw that young males were lacking the teaching that they needed to become the person that they needed to be to thrive in this world. He started talking about his life experiences and the lessons that he had learned himself. Fast forward 3 years, and Hamza now has 2 million subscribers and a monthly income that people strive to get annually. He's a cult-like leader, and young men all over the globe look up to him. I was just scrolling through my YouTube one day and saw on the side my recommended my self-improvement journey. I was in middle school at the time and thought, hey, why not? Clicked on the video and I saw this bald guy talking about his life. It was so unbelievably boring, and when I saw that it was 1.5 hours long, bro, I was like, nope, not today. That was in 2020. Bro, when I tell you that I wish I just watched that video, bro, I even went on his channel and checked up some other videos. Anyways, fast forward 2 years and I'm on the toilet, right? On YouTube, I see a video called What Happened in Amsterdam. I click on it and it's pretty interesting. He's talking about his experience with this girl and it's pretty cool. I watched another Hamza video, go to his channel, Hamza Unfiltered. And I'm like, is there a Hamza Filtered channel I can go to? There doesn't seem to be anything, so I just continue scrolling. Bro, if this guy just linked his main channel to his second account, bro, I would have gotten into self-improvement literally months before I ended up. Anyways, fast forward to July, it was just my birthday, and I think to myself, the Amsterdam video is cool, let me watch it again. This time I get recommended vids from Hamza's main channel. I watched one, then another, then another, then another. Bro, I was immediately hooked. At the end of the week, July 16th, I quit video games. And for the rest of the month, I would wake up and spend 30 minutes sitting down looking at a wall trying to figure my life out. Why? Because Hamza said so. Ever since listening to Hamza, my life has never been the same. I've been on self-improvement for the last 10 months now, and I won't even lie, it has been the best 10 months of my life. Hamza has been able to pave the way for so many young men and has created a whole business out of it at the same time. Hamza is truly the success story that so many of us need to hear. Being so young, Hamza is someone that young men can really relate to. He was in a bad place before, bro. He's been in a bad place his whole life. He was doing the wrong things, getting the wrong treatment, or treating others wrong his entire life. Everything was set for him to fail, and just dying as a statistic. I don't want to say all this to be mean, by the way. I know it may come off that way, but you really need to think about it. A nerd, no friend, video game geek who turned into a buff alcoholic player to a now businessman and almost celebrity. Those last two stages he went through in less than a decade too. I know a decade can seem like a long time, but the thing is, people are more than willing to go to uni for half a decade, get a entry job for 3 to 5 years, and get paid less than 100K for half of their career with no problem. Hamza has showed us that anyone can flip anything around for themselves. One thing that Hamza has showed me is that there is more to learn. You see, Hamza is a very transparent and authentic YouTuber, showing us every single cylinder of his life. If anything goes wrong, he tells us and helps us learn from his mistakes. Unlike other YouTubers who sort of only talk about problems they face when it turns to affect their career. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with that. I believe in personal privacy. Hamza instead makes his career his problems. He shows us that there is so much to learn and that no one is really done learning. For example, his beef with Sneeko. Hamza and Sneeko had a little beef after Sneeko called Hamza gay and stuff for stretching. Hamza didn't take it lightly and retaliated. Hamza then went to speak with Sneeko about it and acted so petty, bro. Like, this guy hung up on Sneeko and was being passive aggressive, like as passive aggressive as he could have been. Of course, Hamza saw he messed up and made a video on it. A more recent example of Hamza learning is him literally changing the course of his channel. At first, he said he was done with YouTube, totally focusing on fighting for the coming months, but he seemed to quickly change his mind. He came back and dropped a whole lecture on the problems he has faced, and that if we choose to take the same path he did, we will face the same problems and how to avoid those problems. He even broke up with his girlfriend during this time, learning that he should only want the best for himself and his future children. One thing that I believe is the biggest teachings that we can take away from Hamza and this journey is that it takes time, sacrifice, and hurt to get to a point of which is ahead of others. Hamza's entire life was a life of hurt. And I'm sure that if anyone could go back and stop the abuse from plaguing a child, they would. But the abuse that Hamza dealt with and the wins he turned into losses that he suffered all brought him to where he is today. So many people who are successful have been scarred by either their parents or a circumstance that was put upon them which they did not deserve. You need to hurt before you can heal and grow stronger. I'm not saying get abused or go through the motions like no one else has. What I'm saying is that you should not expect to bear the fruits of a tree that you have not planted the seed for. You should not expect anything if you are not willing to wait for the tree to grow, to go through the branches falling down, to go through storms. If you're not willing to go to hell and back, you shouldn't expect an invite into the Garden of Eden. No glaze, before I watched Hamza, I was a sad little boy who would constantly feel sorry for himself and let the emotions drag him side to side. I had always wanted more deep down, but never knew how to get that little bit of more. I would always depend on other circumstances to help me, whether it was school, my parents, my friends, whatever it was just never up to me. Wanting more is really something that all of us have deep down inside of us. No one will settle for less. No one will ever want to stay at $100 a night hotel compared to a $10,000 a night hotel. If there is an option to upgrade your plane ticket, you will probably upgrade it. Everyone wants that little bit of more, but no one wants to work on it. Why? Because no one is willing to lose before they can win. Loss aversion. Your fear of losing is more powerful than your feeling of gain. No one wants to win more than they want to avoid losing. Hamza understood that he needed to let things go in order to be born a new man and achieve all the things he always wanted to. Watching Hamza has taught me about learning to sacrifice in order to gain. What has he taught you? Stay hardworking, stay healthy, get wealthy. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate it. Yeah.